Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today, I'm going to go my review of WWE's Money in the Bank. Starting off tonight, we have the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. It is Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Naomi, Stephanie Vaquer, Julia, and Rhea Ripley a part of this matchup, where the winner will get the briefcase and challenge either the Women's World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Women's title. The match itself, man, it was a good match. I think this was probably one of the best women's Money in the Bank matches I've seen in quite some time. Back and forth matchup with Stephanie Vaquer keeping the pace of the match. Naomi then hits a heat seeker on Rhea Ripley. Rhea then goes for a Razor's Edge, but Roxanne Perez counters it with a Hurricane Rana on Rhea Ripley. Perez and Julia then bury Rhea Ripley outside with ladders. Rhea then gets up, hits a Razor's Edge on Roxanne Perez. Rhea then sends Julia straight into the ladder. Vaquer then hits a Devil's Kiss on Rhea using the ladder. Roxanne Perez and Alexa Bliss then hit Code Red on Naomi and Stephanie Vaquer on the ladder. Rhea Ripley then hits a Riptide in the middle of the ring, followed by Alexa Bliss hitting a Sister Abigail in the middle of the ring. But Naomi climbs the ladder, grabs the briefcase, and your winner of the match is Naomi. Hats off to Naomi for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's for the Intercontinental Championship. It is Dominic Mysterio defending the Intercontinental title against Octagon Jr. Now, if you guys don't know who Octagon Jr. is, he also wrestled previously in the day at Worlds Collide. He was a part of a six-man tag team matchup at Worlds Collide. The match itself, it was a good match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Mysterio and Octagon Jr., with Octagon Jr. keeping the pace of the match. Octagon Jr. hits a moonsault to the outside, taking out Dominic Mysterio. Mysterio then gets up, hits a 619 on Octagon Jr., followed by a frog splash off the top rope, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still WWE's Intercontinental Champion, is Dominic Mysterio. Hats off to Dominic Mysterio for getting the win in this matchup. Speaking of Intercontinental Championships, we have a Women's Intercontinental title match. It is Lyra Valkyria defending the Women's Intercontinental Championship against Becky Lynch. This is pretty much a grudge match that's been going on since WrestleMania. The match itself, it was a good match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Valkyria and Lynch, with Valkyria keeping the pace of the match. Becky Lynch then hits an exploder suplex on Lyra Valkyria. Lyra then hits a leg drop on Becky Lynch. Becky then gets up, hits an avalanche manhandle slam on Lyra Valkyria for a near fall. Lyra then hits a Nightwing outside on Becky Lynch. Lyra and Becky Lynch then both exchange in the middle of the ring. Both Lyra and Becky were pretty much countering each other's roll-ups until Becky hit a roll-up on Lyra, pretty much using the trunks. Referee counts to 1, 2, 3, and your winner of the match and new WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion is Becky Lynch. After the match, Lyra pretty much raises the hand of Becky Lynch. It was part of their stipulation during this match. And then Becky wanted her to pretty much, do a lot more than just raising her hand. She wanted to pretty much parade Becky Lynch around the ring, but eventually Lyra got pissed off, hit a Nightwing on Becky Lynch in the middle of the ring. Moving on from that, we have the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. It is Seth Rollins, Penta, Grande Americano, Andrade, Solo Sikoa, and LA Knight. I thought this was a really good matchup as well, man. Back and forth matchup with everybody involved, with LA Knight hitting an elbow drop off the top, all in the middle of the ring. Rollins then hits a pedigree in the middle of the ring as well. Solo and Rollins then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Rollins hitting a foot stomp on Solo Sikoa. Grande then applies an ankle lock on Rollins on top of the ladder. Penta then hits a Mexican Destroyer on the ladder as well. Grande then hits Penta with a headbutt using the steel plate. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker are here. Breaker then hits a spear on Grande as well as LA Knight. Bronson Reed then goes to the top rope, hits a tsunami on Andrade. After that, Jacob Fatu and JC Mateo are here. Breaker then hits a spear on Mateo through the barricade. Fatu then hits a Samoan drop on Reed, followed by Fatu telling Solo to climb the ladder. All of a sudden, Fatu's whole mindset changes. He ends up stopping Solo Sikoa from climbing the ladder, telling that he hates Solo Sikoa. Fatu then attacks Solo. Fatu then hits a moonsault off the top rope on Solo Sikoa. Fatu then hits a chokeslam on Solo through a ladder on the outside. Rollins then hits a foot stomp on LA Knight. And Rollins then goes to climb the ladder. He grabs the briefcase, and your winner of the match is Seth Rollins. Hats off to Seth Rollins for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we had an announcement that WrestleMania 42 will take place in Las Vegas, in the same place as it was last year, in Allegiant Stadium, where the Las Vegas Raiders play football. So some interesting stuff there about WrestleMania 42, which I will touch base on at the end of the podcast. Moving on from that, we go into our main event of Money in the Bank. It is Jey Uso teaming up with Cody Rhodes to take on Logan Paul and John Cena. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with John Cena and Logan Paul keeping the pace of the match. Cena hits a 5-knuckle shuffle in the middle of the ring. Jey then hits an enziguri in the middle of the ring as well. John and Logan then were arguing back and forth, which allowed Jey to tag in Cody. Cody hits a Cody Cutter on John Cena. John then gets up, hits an AA on Rhodes as well as Jey Uso. Rhodes then hits a crossroads in the middle of the ring. Jey then hits a spear as well in the middle of the ring. Jey and Logan then both exchange in the middle of the ring, but Logan hits a pulverizer on Rhodes in the middle of the ring. John then hits an AA on Jey and Rhodes for a near fall. After that, we have Jey pretty much trying to get back into this match. Jey hits a spear on John. Logan then hits an acai moonsault to the outside, taking out Jey Uso on the announce table. It was a brutal spot. Cena's pretty much all by himself. He hits Rhodes with the title, and then all of a sudden a masked person comes into the ring, attacks John Cena, and the person then takes the mask off and reveals himself as none other than the returning of R-Truth, which Rhodes capitalizes on this by hitting a crossroads on John Cena, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. Hats off to Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso for getting the win in that matchup. A couple of things I want to talk about with Money in the Bank, man, and there's a lot to talk about. So let's talk about Money in the Bank in itself. We get this opening matchup for the women's Money in the Bank. Now, in my honest opinion, man, I think this was one of the best Money in the Bank women matches that we got in quite some time. Just my opinion. I'm not saying that it's in the history books as the greatest, but in my opinion, this was one of the best women's Money in the Bank matches that we've seen in quite some time. The entire that women's ladder match, the superstars in this match alone were top-notch talent. And a lot of people were speculating who was going to win this matchup. Now, if you look at someone like Stephanie Vaquer, she was pulling triple duty, man. I mean, this is somebody that, she wrestled on SmackDown. She wrestled at Worlds Collide. And Worlds Collide pretty much led right into Money in the Bank. So, I mean, she was pulling triple duty, man. She has been a workhorse since she's been on the main roster in WWE. And it's, obviously they have a lot of eyes on Stephanie, and they have a lot of praise for Stephanie. I think Stephanie's going to be a big deal on the main roster for WWE for the foreseeable future. So she was pulling triple duty. So if you look at the competitors in this matchup, we had Alexa Bliss, we had Rhea Ripley, we had Naomi. We also had Julia a part of this matchup as well. So we had some good names a part of this match. And a lot of people were speculating who was going to win this match. Some people said Stephanie, some people said Julia. Rhea Ripley was obviously a big favorite to win this matchup. But Naomi ended up climbing up the ladder and grabbing the briefcase. And for what it's worth, man, I am all for this decision. I think it was time for Naomi to finally win a women's Money in the Bank ladder match. She's been in quite a bit of Money in the Bank women's ladder matches. She's never won one until this past weekend. I think, it was a great decision by WWE to have her go over and get the win in this matchup. I think she deserves it. Obviously she has that, she's on that heel run right now. And I think it's great. I think it opens up a lot more doors, obviously, for Naomi. You can see Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton for the women's WWE Women's Championship. I'm all for it. And the best thing about these, Money in the Banks briefcases is that they can cash in at any time. She can cash in on Tiffany Stratton. She can cash in on Io Sky. So it can happen on Raw. It can happen on SmackDown. So it's one of those things that makes, leading into this year's WrestleMania really intriguing, because you never know whether it be a Raw or a SmackDown or a PLE, that one of these superstars that have won their respective briefcases can cash in at any time, any place, anywhere. So, that concept alone makes things a lot interesting for WWE, especially that said talent that won the briefcase. So I'm all for Naomi winning this. I wasn't really too keen on Rhea winning it. Rhea, I'm not sitting here saying Rhea's not great. Rhea's awesome. But to see if she would have climbed that ladder and grabbed that briefcase again, or grabbed the briefcase and go after, Io for the World Heavyweight Championship or the Women's World Heavyweight title, I'm not sold on it. I'm really not. I know they're trying to push Rhea to the moon. And I'm not sitting here saying that I hate Rhea Ripley. It's just it's nice to have some, new people, kind of having the spotlight a little bit. And I'm happy Naomi's finally getting that. I think she's done great things since she's been back in WWE. And now, like I said, now she's turned heel, and now she's a heel. So, sky's the limit for Naomi. I'm very intrigued on who she's going to cash in. If I had to guess, it's probably going to be Tiffany Stratton. Which, again, I'm not against Naomi becoming, WWE Women's Champion. I'm not. I think it'll be great. And she would have a hell of a match with Tiffany Stratton. I think it'd be a great match. Other matches, we have Octagon Jr. and Dominic Mysterio. Now, some people might question why this match even happened. Well, if you watch Worlds Collide, you saw Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan ringside during a 6-man tag team matchup that involved Octagon Jr. Now, Octagon Jr. and his team had won that said 6-man tag team matchup, but there was a little altercation ringside between Dominic Mysterio and Octagon Jr., which both of these guys came to blows in the middle of the ring, which ultimately led Dominic Mysterio to make an announcement that he will defend the Intercontinental Championship against Octagon Jr. later on in the night for the Intercontinental title. So that's the reason why we got this impromptu match, and this match was scheduled for Money in the Bank. Look, man, for what it's worth, I mentioned this about the Worlds Collide event. You're going to start seeing, hopefully you start seeing a lot more of these guys part of these future PLEs for WWE as well. Mr. Iguana, a lot of people, I don't know a lot about Mr. Iguana, but when he had showed up and made his presence known at the Worlds Collide event, he was immensely over. The fans were gravitated towards him. He put on a really good match. His character alone is very unique. So it gravitated toward, a lot of fans gravitated towards Mr. Iguana. And he's somebody that I think WWE is going to keep a close eye on because of how much he's over. He's immensely over with the fan base in WWE. So he was a part of that 6-man tag team with Octagon Jr. So, you're going to start seeing hopefully a lot more of these guys from AAA a part of these certain PLEs in the foreseeable future for WWE. And hopefully vice versa. We see some main roster talent go over to AAA and be a part of their events. They got Triple Mania coming up, and that's a big-time event for AAA. So we might see some certain said talents that are on the main roster possibly be a part of this year's Triple Mania for AAA, and I think it'd be a great thing for both parties involved. So this is one of the reasons why this match happened is because of an altercation that happened between Dominic Mysterio and Octagon Jr. that took place during Worlds Collide, which was a good match, and Mysterio was successful. He retains the Intercontinental title, and I look forward to what's going to happen next with Dominic Mysterio. And to be honest with you, this could also play something very big into Dominic Mysterio, and what I mean by that is this could be something, small storyline brewing here with Mysterio and some of these guys from AAA, where Mysterio can be defending the Intercontinental Championship possibly more against certain talents from AAA. And I think it'd be a great storyline. I think it'd be a great way to bring in AAA talent to be a part of Monday Night Raw, where, you can see Mysterio defend the Intercontinental Championship a lot more than what he has been, but it also gets spotlight on certain individual talents from AAA that will challenge Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship if given the opportunity. So I'm all locked in for that, and who knows, we might see something on Monday Night Raw this week with some certain AAA talent that might show up on Raw to possibly challenge Dominic Mysterio once again. So it's still yet to be seen, but again, it was a really good match. We also have the men's Money in the Bank match. I mean, for what it's worth, man, a lot of people, and this was probably one of my biggest gripes with this match. 2 gripes. Number one, everybody that I've talked to had LA Knight winning this match. LA Knight's been, in a couple Money in the Banks now since he's been with WWE, and he's been, unsuccessful. And a lot of people thought with them being in LA, obviously, LA Knight being LA Knight, that this was his night. This was the night that he was going to finally win the Money in the Bank ladder match and walk out with that briefcase. And unfortunately, once again, he was unsuccessful. He did not win the men's Money in the Bank. Instead, we had Seth Rollins, who was the more predictable choice to win this year's men's Money in the Bank briefcase this year. But he had some help, and he had some help from his stablemates with Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, who played a crucial role in allowing Seth Rollins, or helping Seth Rollins, win this year's Money in the Bank for the men's briefcase. And they played a vital role in that. But we also saw Jacob Fatu as well, and JC Mateo, which is also this bloodline stable that was going on, or if you want to call it that, with Solo Sikoa. But it looks like Fatu has finally changed his mind on Solo by telling Solo Sikoa that he hates him, and ultimately cost Solo Sikoa this match by him attacking Solo, and Solo not, being successful in this match. So there's going to be a little heat there between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, which I'm all for a one-on-one matchup here between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. I think the bloodline at this point and at this juncture of the game right now, it's starting to unwind a lot more. We haven't seen Tama Tonga or Tonga Loa because they're out with injury. But as of right now, I'm not saying the whole bloodline situation's done, but as of right now, it looks very slim at this point, with Fatu pretty much attacking Solo Sikoa. I mean, they just brought in JC Mateo, a.k.a. Jeff Cobb, to be a part of Solo Sikoa, be with Solo Sikoa in this possible new bloodline. So I don't know if the bloodline's completely done, but right now it's looking very slim on the chances of it actually being something more now than it was, or less now than it was then. So we're going to see how it plays out. Obviously, there's going to be some kind of rebuttal here between Solo and Jacob Fatu that's most likely going to take place on this Friday on SmackDown. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then we get the main event. The main event, it's a tag team matchup. Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes teaming up to take on John Cena and Logan Paul. I thought it was a really good match, and a lot of people were speculating on why this was the main event. And I know why. And the reason why is still the main thing that everybody is still talking about even now is R-Truth. Or should I say Ron Killings. We have a masked person that jumps into the ring and attacks John Cena. And everybody at the time, or at least in that second, was speculating who that person under the mask was going. Who was it? Who was the person that attacked John Cena? And that person unmasked himself, and it turned out to be none other than R-Truth. R-Truth pretty much sends a message not only to John Cena but to fans that he is back after he was just recently released from WWE. Now, this was something that I really wanted to talk about with you guys because there was a lot of people talking about this in a lot of different ways. Number one being with a star next to it, being the fact that this was a work. That R-Truth being released was a work. It was a part of a storyline with R-Truth and John Cena. I can tell you guys right now, that's a bunch of bullshit. R-Truth was legitimately released by WWE by the hands of Triple H. Triple H was the guy who pulled the trigger on having R-Truth released from WWE, and he was gone. And once he was released from WWE, I even made a video about it. Everybody in WWE, all the fans, were up in arms about the fact that this guy was released from WWE. Now, this guy, R-Truth, not to speak of him in third person, but R-Truth was a superstar that's been with WWE for 17 years. This guy's been there for almost 20 years. So for WWE to go out of their way, out of all this time, out of all these releases, they finally released a guy like R-Truth. It pissed a lot of people off. Myself included. I was shocked by the fact that they released R-Truth because this guy, like I said, man, has been there for almost 20 years. 20 years. Damn near. And you finally release him. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that R-Truth is a guy that's being showcased on television week in and week out. But this guy has been there for almost 20 years. He's a veteran in that locker room. He's very well respected, or highly respected in that locker room from talent from SmackDown or Monday Night Raw. He's very well respected. And a lot of people go to R-Truth for advice and everything else like that. And he's one of those guys that makes a lot of people laugh. It makes it, he's one of those people that's in the locker room that I'm sure it makes, people that go to WWE or work there a lot more enjoyable. At times where it's hectic and, they're stressed out or whatever, or their own personal lives. I'm sure R-Truth kind of brings a little bit more, fun to the workspace on Monday Night Raw, or if not SmackDown. So, he plays a vital role, and maybe not on television, but backstage. And a lot of people had a lot of love and respect for R-Truth. And to see, WWE, finally say, hey, you know what, this ain't going to pan out. We're going to release you. And for those people that said it was a work, it's bullshit. And I'll tell you why also is bullshit, because R-Truth's son, when, Triple H did the post-media scrum after Money in the Bank, somebody in the crowd asked Triple H about what happened with R-Truth and why he was released. And the only rebuttal that Triple H had was that he asked this guy that asked the question, did you enjoy the show? And he said that when it pertains to R-Truth, it's all about the show. Now, people can look at that like, oh, it's a work. No. Triple H wasn't going to tell everybody around the world that he fucked up, that WWE fucked up. Because they're egos, man. They don't want nobody looking down at WWE saying, you know what, they fucked up. And honestly, for what it's worth, I think a lot of more people would respect Triple H and WWE if they actually acknowledge the fact that they fucked up by letting this guy go. You know what I mean? I understand, and I told you guys this when all those other releases just happened with Braun Strowman, Shayna Baszler, that there is a age gap situation with WWE. They do not want talent in WWE over a certain age. It plays a vital role in the releases as of late in WWE. It does. There's no other way of looking around it. It does. And R-Truth's up there. I think R-Truth is, 54 years old? He's up there, man. But he's still in great shape, and the guy can still wrestle. And not for nothing, if you're bringing in all these other talents from whether it be NXT or somebody you're signing from another company, having a veteran like that in the locker room really does go a long way with not only welcoming these new talents, especially these young talents that are new to the main roster scene, by having a guy like R-Truth welcoming them into the locker room, making them feel comfortable, and allowing these people to kind of pick R-Truth's brain on as far as how things really work backstage in WWE, because the guy's been there for damn near 20 fucking years. And you want to just, throw this guy away like you're wiping your ass. It's just a slap in the face. But my other thing that I was going to say is after Triple H made those comments about the whole, did you enjoy the show and it's a part of the show, you had R-Truth's son come out and say, as far as the whole release shit's concerned and it being a work, he said verbatim, it's a cap. It's bullshit. This was legit. R-Truth was legitimately let go and cut from WWE. And after he was released, a lot of people were speculating on why he was released. Some people came out and said that it was a contract deal that didn't go well. They kind of lowballed R-Truth as far as financially, as far as his new contract would be concerned, and he didn't want to re-sign. And they were ultimately, okay, we're going to let you go. We're going to let you finish out your days on your contract, and then you would be able to be gone. You wouldn't have no 90-day non-compete clause or nothing. It would just be, okay, you're going to finish out your contract, and you're able to work somewhere else imminently once your contract's over. But now we see R-Truth back, or like I said, should I say Ron Killings, because it looks like R-Truth may be released from WWE, but Ron Killings has made an impact now in WWE. So for those asking, well, why are you calling him Ron Killings? Well, number one, it's his name. Two, they're already selling merchandise in WWE right now as we speak with the name Ron Killings on it. So it looks like this was something where R-Truth or Ron Killings wanted to return back to WWE. He wanted to have his, one last hoorah, if you will. But he wanted to, leave WWE with the name of Ron Killings. His actual name. And this is very interesting. This is very telling because the R-Truth that we know, usually he's been a babyface. And a lot of people loved R-Truth because of how funny he was and the fact that he was a babyface and he was always a part of these different segments that made a lot of people laugh. Ron Killings, on the other hand, might come into the fold into WWE and might just be the complete opposite of what everybody has been used to when it pertains to R-Truth, where he was this baby face and made everybody laugh. Now that we're getting Ron Killings, this might be a complete 360. Ron Killings might be coming into the fold of WWE as being a complete asshole and a complete heel. And obviously he has a lot to answer for what happened, in this main event match where he attacked John Cena in this main event match at Money in the Bank. So it looks like there's some unfinished business here between Ron Killings and John Cena. So, and you got to remember this, and this is the other thing too that I want people to remember when it pertains to R-Truth. There was a reason why they set that matchup between R-Truth and John Cena. There has to be. There was no build. There was no storyline. It was like they gave R-Truth this match on a golden plate and said, here you go. It was almost if behind closed doors, you would almost assume that they gave this match, it was already premeditated that they were going to let R-Truth go, but they were going to give him this one main event spot at Saturday night's main event, and it's his final send-off against the current Universal Champion. So it was almost like it was premeditated. Like they already knew off the rip that they were going to let his ass go. And they wanted to give him what they thought was a proper send-off by having him go one-on-one with probably the biggest star in WWE and the current Universal Champion being John Cena. So it was almost as if they already kind of writ him off before he pretty much even knew it. Or maybe he did, but they really didn't look into it too much until he got that call. Most likely from Hunter saying, hey, we're letting you go. This doesn't, and here's the thing too, man, and I want people to understand this. And I've said this now for the past couple weeks. When it pertains to WWE as a businessman, shit is not looking good. It's not. And this was one of those moves that makes WWE look not good. And it honestly makes Triple H look like an asshole. To be honest. It makes him look like a jackass. It doesn't do the company any good. I mean, it was so bad that Triple H told him and let him go. And then because everybody was up in arms and pissed off about the fact that they let R-Truth go, then pretty much the owner of the company at this point, or one of the owners, Nick Khan, had to reach out to R-Truth and re-sign him to another deal because everybody was up in arms about R-Truth. And now that they know they can make money from R-Truth, well, hell, no offense, you guys were making bank off those fucking shirts you were selling for R-Truth leading up to that match he had with John Cena. Those shirts, they were selling like hotcakes. Hotcakes. So clearly he was making money. They were making some kind of profit off R-Truth just with, merch alone. He doesn't get the full percentage of that merch. No, WWE gets a decent percentage off that merchandise sales. And they were making bank off those merchandise sales, especially that t-shirt that R-Truth had. So once he was released, everybody was pissed off about it. It was prevalent. It was all over, online, Twitter, all over the place, man. All these different content creators were venting their frustrations, myself included, about the fact that R-Truth was released from WWE after being there for almost 20 fucking years. So a lot of people were up in arms about this shit. And now we get the main event of Money in the Bank, and then we see R-Truth, or now known as Ron Killings, show up and attack John Cena. This was something where nobody's really going to look into this, but this was something where people need to realize that they finally actually answered the fans and gave the fans actually what they want, and the fact that they realize that WWE fucked up. But they're not going to say it. They're never going to say it because they all have egos and don't want to make, they don't want to, eat shit about it and say, oh, you know what, yeah, we fucked up by letting him go. No, they're not going to say shit about that because they have an ego. But the fact remains is that they fucked up. They immensely fucked up. And they're continually fucking up. And it's not about R-Truth. I'm glad that he's back. I'm very intrigued and interested on how this new R-Truth, or Ron Killings, I should say, is going to be portrayed on Monday Night Raw. And I'm very intrigued on what his rebuttal was going to be, since now he's back in WWE after he was let go, and why he attacked John Cena in the main event in Money in the Bank. So that I'm very interested and intrigued with. But again, it's something where they know they fucked up on. The other thing I want to talk about too is the situation with The Rock. Now, I'm not sitting here saying The Rock had anything to do with Money in the Bank. I was kind of glad that he wasn't there, even though his mom was in the crowd during Money in the Bank. So it had a lot of people speculating that Dwayne The Rock Johnson had possibly showed up in Los Angeles in Money in the Bank, possibly at the main event of Money in the Bank this year. Thank God that didn't happen. Because, no offense, at this point, The Rock's a big waste of fucking time at this point. But I digress. Anyway, when it pertains to Dwayne The Rock Johnson, there was more information that had came out about Dwayne when it pertains to last year's WrestleMania. Now, the situation that I heard, it was reported from, SAP and Fightful and a lot of other media outlets out there, that one of the issues is that The Rock was supposed to actually show up at last year's WrestleMania. He was supposed to be in Las Vegas, I think a couple days before WrestleMania. He was supposed to fly into Vegas and train with the former NXT Tag Team Champions, Gallus, with Wolfgang and Mark and Joe Coffey. Well, Gallus ended up showing up in Vegas, but there was a no-show from The Rock. Now, there was rumblings or a lot of rumors speculating on why The Rock didn't show up in Vegas. Now, from what I've gathered and what was reported from multiple different media outlets, whether it was, Meltzer or Fightful, supposedly Rock was pissed off because Rock was not getting a private jet from WWE to fly his ass over to Las Vegas. Instead, they assumed that The Rock was going to use his own jet or his own way of transportation to get over to Las Vegas. So The Rock got pissed off because he was not getting, I guess, the proper treatment that he thought he was going to get, or what he thought should be, by having them send over a private jet to get Dwayne The Rock Johnson to fly him over to Vegas. So, meanwhile, Gallus is in Vegas. They are waiting for Rock to show up. He never shows up. Not only does he not show up, he doesn't even show up for WrestleMania 41 at all. He's a no-show. So, for those wondering, oh, The Rock wasn't supposed to be there. No, his ass was supposed to be there. The Rock was supposed to be at last year's WrestleMania in Vegas. But because of transportation situations, and because he thought that they were going to send a private jet to pick his ass up and bring him to Vegas so he can train with Gallus to, I guess, prepare for a match or be prepared for something at WrestleMania 41, and because he didn't get that private jet, he said to hell with it. There's a lot of issues with this shit. And what I look at this is that obviously egos play a humongous factor into this shit. But I think ultimately there's a battle of turmoil here between The Rock and Triple H. There's also been speculation that some people have mentioned, even Jonathan Coachman had mentioned and speculated the fact that when it pertains to Triple H, some people think that he's only got 18 months left in WWE before they actually let his ass go. Now, again, it's just a speculation. It's just a rumor. But it's a hell of a rumor. And the way that you can look at the narrative here between The Rock and Triple H, obviously there's a history between both these guys. Both these guys have some of the biggest egos on the fucking planet. So when you look at that, and the history that Dwayne The Rock Johnson has with Paul Levesque, there's a history there between both these guys. There's times where these guys don't get along. And now we have Dwayne The Rock Johnson being pretty much a member of the board at this point in WWE, with Nick Khan and Ari Emanuel and the members of TKO. And then we have Triple H, pretty much the content creator chief, if you will, a part of WWE. The Rock's his boss. The Rock is Triple H's boss at the end of the day. One of his bosses. And I think there's a spearhead here happening between Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Triple H. And I'm going to be honest, man, if it does come down to that rumor or speculation being true, where they're only giving him about 18 months until they possibly let him go, you want to talk about a shock heard around the world if WWE actually lets Paul Levesque go. It's going to cause a seismic shift in WWE. Huge, monumental shift. And a lot of people are going to be like, holy shit. And I've said it about AEW, and I'm going to say the same thing about WWE. They let someone like Paul Levesque go. It might be a gut punch a little bit to WWE. Absolutely. Because I can tell you right now, there's certain talents that are still there right now solely because of Paul Levesque. I can promise you that. And if they were to let him go, man, it's going to be a whole different ball game for WWE. But like I said before, and I digress, I think The Rock and Triple H have some kind of beef going on. I really do. And this is stemming from not even last year's WrestleMania, but I think the WrestleMania before that. And then and again, the business side of WWE it's falling flat on its ass. I mean, you watch Worlds Collide, I think it was, and they make the announcement that WrestleMania 42 is going back to Las Vegas. And I do want to talk about this because I'm telling you right now, this pissed me the hell off. So there was an announcement that was made months and months ago, and I told you guys about this when I think it was a SmackDown episode or Raw episode that they were in New Orleans. And The Rock was out there cutting a promo, cutting a segment, and announced that WrestleMania 42 that's taking place and pretty much this year, WrestleMania 42 will be in New Orleans. That's not going to happen. That's not happening no longer. Instead, WrestleMania 42 is going back to Las Vegas, and not only going back, they're going back to the same goddamn place they were at for WrestleMania 41, where it's going to be at Allegiant Stadium, where the Las Vegas Raiders play football. Same place, same stadium. So much the same that there's also rumors and speculation that what we saw at last year's WrestleMania, as far as the set's concerned, and how the aesthetics of WrestleMania 41, some people are saying that it might actually be exactly the same for WrestleMania 42. That's a huge fucking problem for multiple reasons. I told you guys this, man. When they announced this shit for WrestleMania, that there was going to be a possible residency for WrestleMania, I instantly thought this was going to be a big fucking mistake. And I still believe it's a big fucking mistake because there's people, I told you guys this, man, there's countries and cities around the world that are patiently waiting to host a WrestleMania. Why? Because it is the Super Bowl of professional wrestling. It's the biggest wrestling show of the year. It is Wrestling Super Bowl every single year. And there's cities around the U.S., there's countries around the world that are patiently waiting to have or host a WrestleMania. There's Philly was waiting for the longest time. They finally got one. You know what I mean? There's other, Minneapolis, Minnesota are waiting to host a WrestleMania. I'm sure I think they might have hosted one before, I'm not sure, but they're waiting to host one for sure. There's some states around the country that are still waiting to host a WrestleMania. There's also countries that are waiting to host a WrestleMania. One of the biggest countries out there that have been patiently waiting to host a WrestleMania has been London, England. They want to host a WrestleMania, and they have been patiently waiting to have the opportunity to host a WrestleMania. There's also been speculation about WrestleMania possibly going over to Saudi Arabia. They are also still waiting to possibly host a WrestleMania. But that's not going to happen. And it might not happen for quite some time because, like I said, it seems as if WWE is having a residency in Las Vegas where they're going to be hosting their biggest show of the year consistently in Las Vegas. Most notably in the same stadium they had it at last year. They're having it again, once again, in the same place this year. This is a huge problem, bro. This is a huge problem. And the way I look at it is like this. If you look at the NFL has been around for a very long time. And the Super Bowl is one of the biggest sporting events of all time. Biggest sporting event of every single year. Everybody's looking forward to the Super Bowl. It's the biggest thing for football every year. But every year, when it comes down to the Super Bowl, they're looking for a city to host that year's Super Bowl. And it makes it into a big thing. The Super Bowl can be in Arizona, at the Cardinal Stadium, New Orleans, at the Falcons Stadium in Georgia, Florida, Tampa Bay Stadium. It could be any stadium around the country, or if not around the world. But if you look at that narrative that what WWE is doing with that residency in Las Vegas, imagine the NFL doing that with the Super Bowl, bro. It'd be fucking crazy. There would be fans all over the world that would be so fucking pissed off to see the Super Bowl in the same goddamn state, same city, consecutively over a couple year span. There'll be people pissed off. And we're getting the same thing here now with WWE, where we're having WrestleMania in the same fucking place last year, now this year. You don't think people are not pissed off about that? Those people if you're somebody in New Orleans and you're a wrestling fan, that had to piss you off. And I feel bad for them. I do. Because it's almost like, okay, you know what? New Orleans ain't good enough to have a WrestleMania, which is bullshit. New Orleans have had a WrestleMania where it was most notable because it was the end of Undertaker's streak. I believe that was in New Orleans. New Orleans is a great city to host a WrestleMania. Are you kidding me? But they swept the rug right underneath the feet of people in New Orleans and said, you know what? Y'all ain't good enough. We're going to take it to Las Vegas. That's a slap in the fucking face, man. That's a slap in the face. And for WWE to do some shit like that is fucking crazy, man. And that's what I mean by the business aspect and the business model of WWE. They don't give a shit about the fans, bro. They care about that mighty dollar. And that mighty dollar could ultimately pretty much, it can mess shit up for WWE. Big time. There was a lot of people, other content creators, other, pretty much big wigs in the internet wrestling community that are like, man, this is a bad move, bro. This is a bad move. And I had to tend to agree with them. I do. This is a bad move for WWE. And like I said, with the rumors of speculation that what we saw at WrestleMania 41, as far as the aesthetics are concerned, the way the ring looked, the stage structure, all that shit, and then we're getting to WrestleMania 42, and they're talking about having the same aesthetics from WrestleMania 41 into WrestleMania 42, man, that's a bad fucking look. At least you can do is make WrestleMania 42, inside the stadium look a little bit different than what we got last year. Because Christ, man, we're in the same stadium and the same aesthetics as last. Oh, dude, it's like a fucking Band-Aid. Oh, you know what? We had that. Now we're gonna go to this next one. Rinse and fucking repeat. No, bro, that's a bad move. And honestly, for what it's worth. And I mentioned this when this whole thing was announced, that WrestleMania, as far as them having WrestleMania in Vegas, man, it's got some bad luck wrapped around that shit. They even made a documentary leading up to WrestleMania 41 about the first time they went to Vegas, when they went to Caesar's Palace. And how chaotic that shit was. And that WrestleMania wasn't even that fucking good, man. It wasn't. It was not that good of a WrestleMania. Now, the aesthetics were great, sure. Being on top of Caesar's Palace and, all the glamour that came with it, and seeing Gorilla Monsoon and Randy Savage being carried in on a damn king chair, it was great. The aesthetics were great, but the matches were fucking horrible, man. I think the best match of that entire card, probably two matches, I would say, if I remember distinctly. Shawn Michaels and Tatanka was a really good match. And I would also say the Head Shrinkers and the Steiner Brothers were also a really good match. I think Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez also had a match. I wouldn't really call it a match, to be honest with you. There was a lot going on in that match. But yeah, those are my top two matches for that WrestleMania that happened in Caesar's Palace would be, I think it was Shawn and Tantaka for the Intercontinental Championship, and then we also had the Head Shrinkers taking on the Steiner Brothers, I believe, at that same event. So, I mean, again, bro, it's not... And then we get WrestleMania 41, and it was shit, man. It was not a good fucking show. I mean, the best match of the entire card, and even though at this juncture, and now where we're at in WrestleMania, it's not just one night, it's 2 nights for WrestleMania. And the best match that we got out of the entire WrestleMania weekend was the match that we got at night 1 between Punk, Rollins, and Reigns. Because that John Cena-Cody Rhodes match was fucking shit. I mean, it was fucking awful. Absolutely awful. We don't see The Rock at all. And I just told you guys why we didn't see The Rock, now that you guys do know, if you didn't. So no Rock, but instead we got Travis Scott coming out to the ring to help John Cena. Like, Travis Scott plays a significant role in what the hell is going on here. But they're pushing Travis Scott to the fucking moon in that storyline between Cody, The Rock, John Cena. I mean, hell, at this point, Travis Scott's one of the main protagonists in this fucking story between Cody Rhodes and The Rock. Crazy to think about, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's mind-blowing, bro. It really is. Like, I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where this company's going. Do I worry about it anymore? No. Because at the end of the day, man, they kind of deserve it. They honestly do. Because they were flying by the seat of their fucking pants, bro. When this Netflix shit happened, oh, man. Everything in WWE skyrocketed. In a positive direction. Everybody was happy. Everybody was excited. Everybody was thrilled. Myself included. But now that shit, we already got through a little bit of the Netflix stuff, and we're still with Netflix, but it's not brand new. Shit's starting to slowly wind down. Storylines are not making sense. We're not really getting really compelling storylines. So shit's starting to slow down with the wrestling aspect of what we see week in and week out on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. Now, I know they're hyping up the Monday Night Raw after Money in the Bank. Sure, they got Jey Uso defending the World Heavyweight title against Gunther. We might hear from Ron Killings. We're going to hear from John Cena. I think we have qualifying matches for the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring. So yeah, I mean, Raw looks very good heading, after Money in the Bank. But again, storylines are lacking, and WWE in itself are focusing more on the business aspect of the company than the actual wrestling itself. And for what I understand, supposedly TKO and the powers that be, they're in debt. From what I understand, TKO as a whole are in debt, and in debt for a lot of money, money that they might not be able to bounce back from, which is crazy because TKO right now as a whole, they own WWE, and they also own the UFC. So basically, if you look at it, WWE and UFC are partners under one brand being TKO, with Ari Emanuel and Nick Khan and the powers that be. But supposedly, they're in debt. They're in debt. And you had to ask yourself this question, and a friend of mine brought this up too. And I'm probably going to bring this up once July 12th happens because the amount of events that weekend is absolutely insane. We got 3 events in that weekend alone. But a friend of mine brought this to my attention, and it actually makes logical sense. I think the reason why we're getting so much of an abundance of PLEs from WWE is the fact that they are in debt. Because you got to think about it, man. Yeah, they're making their money week in and week out from going to different cities around the U.S., and different cities around the world on Raw and SmackDown. Yeah, from ticket sales to merchandise sales, sure. But you're probably making more money from these PLEs. From ticket sales to merch to, all the sponsors they're getting and everything else. I'm sure they're making a lot more money for the PLEs than they would be on a standard Raw episode or a SmackDown. That's just common sense. So, to me, yeah, when a friend of mine told me that, he was like, yeah, man, they're probably putting on a lot of these PLEs because of their financial, structure right now. Not saying they're hurting severely, but they are in debt. So, what better way to kind of counterbalance that and make a profit is to have these PLEs. And there is abundance of PLEs that's coming down the pike for WWE. I just mentioned earlier with July 12th weekend, it's the weekend of All In. You have Saturday night's main event, and you also have Evolution 2, which is WWE's all-women's pay-per-view. And that's going to be on Sunday. So you got pretty much 3 pay-per-view events in one weekend, with 2 of them being on the same day, with Saturday night's main event and All In for AEW. And it's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy, man. I mean, it's, the overabundance of pay-per-views for WWE, it's crazy. I mean, I remember at one time we were getting 1 pay-per-view a month from WWE, which was fine. Now we're getting 1, 2, if not 3 PLEs every month, and it's been crazy. And I feel like this all kind of happened once after the Royal Rumble. It's been full speed ahead, man, with these PLEs. I mean, they have been hell on wheels, and it's been crazy. But I feel like there's a reason behind it, and I think this has a lot to do with them being possibly in debt. They're trying to make money. They're trying to turn a profit. They're trying to, get back in the green again instead of, staying in the red. And they think the best way to do that is have these PLEs. And they're having a lot. But by doing that, also affects storylines. Because you're having so many PLEs, it's insane. I mean, they basically have, like I said, July 12th, it's back-to-back with Saturday Night's Main Event, and they have Evolution 2 taking place the following night in Atlanta. So it's a lot, man. It's definitely a lot. It's one of those things where it's like, you heard Tony Khan, I think it was their past pay-per-view, he made, he was doing a post-show, and he said that what's been going on between AEW and WWE has a lot of similarities to the territory days with Jim Crockett Promotions, where it was just head-to-head every single time. Different pay-per-views versus WWE, yada, yada, vice versa. So it's very similar, and history likes to usually repeat itself, man. It looks like we're getting the same shit that we got back then is that we're getting now. But like I said, man, it's a tailspin. It's definitely a tailspin. It's a whirlwind of what the hell's going on, and I don't know. I think for what it's worth, like I mentioned earlier, with The Rock, I don't know, man. I mean, if that story happens to be true, the fact that he got pissed off that they did not send him a private jet to fly his ass out to Vegas, that's some petty ass shit, man. And I mean, this guy's got so much money, and you're upset because they didn't send you a private jet to fly your ass over to Vegas. Come on, bro. Come on. I mean, to me, it's just like, Christ, man, really? That's where we're. I mean, not for nothing, The Rock needed to be at WrestleMania 41 last year because it would have made more logical sense for his ass to be there, not Travis Scott. Travis Scott meant nothing in that entire, in this entire fucking storyline here between The Rock and Cody. And that storyline between Cody and The Rock, I'm telling y'all, is unfinished business. There needs to be a match between The Rock and Cody. I don't give a shit who you are or what you're thinking as far as, oh no, that ship sailed. No, bullshit. That is still yet to be done. There needs to be a match between Cody and The Rock. Absolutely. And The Rock, with The Rock, he needs to either be all in or all out. I understand he's got other ventures that he's doing outside of professional wrestling. But you get yourself in a predominant role in WWE. You get yourself in one of the best storylines, top storylines, but your main event guy. And then you're there today and you're gone for like 3 weeks later. See you later. Bye, kiss my ass, see you later. No call, no show. Nothing. Look at WrestleMania 41. No call, no show. The hell with y'all, pretty much with him. You know what I mean? You can't be half in, half out, man. It's either you're all in or get the hell out of here. You know what I'm saying? And I think that alone kills the momentum with The Rock because people are tired of seeing this shit. He shows up, he cuts a promo or wants to be involved in some kind of, main event spotlight. He shows up 1 week and then he's gone for 3 weeks. Or that he'll be piss whining and moaning that, oh, they didn't send me a private jet to send my ass out to Vegas. Come on, bro. You're a grown-ass man. Figure it out. Fly your own self out to goddamn Vegas, bro. Are you kidding me? Like, what are we fucking doing here? It's like I said, if that's true, and to me it does have some kind of truth to it, because this statement came out from Wolfgang, from Gallus, after he was already released from WWE, that he made these comments because he was asked about it. And he answered the question. So I don't think he would have gone out of his way to say that just to say. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that. He's obviously speaking some kind of truth because, like he said, Gallus was supposed to be in Vegas. They showed up. Rock was no call, no show. Because he was up in arms on the fact that they didn't send him a private jet to fly his ass out to Vegas. Come on, bro. That is some petty ass shit. Cry me a river, man. That's so much bullshit. And that goes back to what I said before about Rock and Triple H. If the stories are true about Triple H and the speculation is true about the possible fact that they might be letting him go in 18 months, you want to talk about a seismic shift in the balance for WWE. It's going to change everything for WWE. And not necessarily in a good way. It's going to change WWE in a very bad way. Where this is right back to the Vince days. Imagine Rock coming in and taking over WWE. This could be a bad move if they decide to do this. But can I see it happening? I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. Just based off what happened with the R-Truth situation, where Triple H was the one who said, "Hey, R-Truth, we're done with you. We're letting you go." And then, what was it, 72 hours later, Nick Khan calls him and says, "Hey, we're going to bring you back because the fans miss you. The fans want you." Yeah, no shit. No shit. But you contemplated letting that guy go, and actually let that guy go. And I'm just speaking from Triple H side. You let this guy go after this guy has been with this company for almost 20 fucking years. You know what I mean? A talent that is respected throughout the entire locker room of WWE. A veteran in that locker room. A veteran that can help these younger talents that are getting called up from NXT. Just seems like a shitty move. And I don't know, and maybe it has a lot to do with their financial contract. I know there's been speculation, too, about TKO possibly looking into Roman Reigns' contract and looking into his financials. Good luck. Good luck. Because you can't, with a guy like Roman, yeah, he might not be on TV week in and week out, but he is a megastar in WWE, bro. Whether you like the guy or not. That whole OTC shit, the bloodline, I mean, Roman Reigns is immensely over in WWE. And like I said, if the rumors are true, and they are just rumors at this point, but if TKO was possibly looking into Roman Reigns' contract, especially financially, that might be very bad on their part, because you don't let a guy like that go. You pay him what he's asking for. Because why? Because that Roman Reigns put asses in seats is what he does. He gets ticket sales going. He gets merchandise sold. He gets pay-per-views damn near being sold out because of him. You don't mess with that contract. You let that contract be as it may, because he's a megastar. To be honest with you, if the rumors are true about that, you're absolutely fucking crazy. There's no reason for him to even touch that contract, because that guy has put you in the upper echelon because of how much of a megastar that he is. Absolutely. You may gotta like the guy, you ain't gotta be a fan of him, but the truth is the truth. His title reign alone was historic. Number one. Number two, like I said, he puts asses in seats. People want to see the OTC. People still chant OTC. They're still waiting for him to return back to SmackDown or Raw, or just to be seen on TV. They're still patiently waiting. Come on, bro. You ain't gonna mess with that contract, because if you did, it's gonna be a gut punch, number one, to WWE, and they're gonna be right back in the same situation again than what you had with R-Truth. And there's a vast difference between R-Truth and Roman Reigns. Sorry, but there's a immense difference between the two. So, I mean, like I said, look what they did with R-Truth. Imagine doing something like that to Roman Reigns. Man, you want to talk about outrage? Holy shit. It'd be crazy. It'd be absolutely insane. And you're not letting a guy like that go. No shot in hell. And like I said, look at R-Truth. They brought him back quick. Why? Because they realized they fucked up. They're not going to acknowledge it. They're not going to tell the fans. I mean, like I said, you look at Triple H at that post-media scrum looking like a smartass, telling that guy who asked that question, well, did you enjoy the show? It's all a part of the show, man. No, you fucked up. You fucked up. No. Triple H fucked up. Is he going to admit that he was wrong? Hell no. No. Because the guy has an ego bigger than you would not believe. Absolutely. He's not going to admit that he was wrong. No. Now, do I know that he's wrong? Absolutely. A lot of fans know what he did was wrong. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this might also be something that might bite Triple H in the ass in the long run. This might also be something where if this continues to keep happening, it might bite Triple H in the ass so much that it might be something where that 18-month thing that I was talking about earlier might actually come to fruition, and that's going to change the entire dynamic of WWE. I can tell you guys that right now. Absolutely. I mean, you look at the narrative now, where even with the age gap, you look at someone like LA Knight, who was a part of the men's Money in the Bank match, who was unsuccessful once again in winning the men's Money in the Bank briefcase. Do you think LA Knight is possibly on the chopping block of being let go or being released? Because why? He's up there in age. Maybe they don't see the productivity from LA Knight. Even though he's still a fan favorite, they might still let him go because they're not getting much productivity out of him. He's, up there in age, and it's going to be R-Truth all over again, where people are going to lose their fucking mind if they let LA Knight go. Why? Because LA Knight is immensely over. Just like R-Truth. When LA Knight's music hits, everybody's singing that damn theme song. Everybody's saying yeah in the arena because They love LA Knight. Certain people in this company, whether, they're, with WWE, they have a certain age gap. And if they're too fucking old, see you later, there's the door. Don't let it, kick you in the ass on the way out. If that's the mindset you want to have, fine. But that's going to bite you in the ass. It's already bitten you in the ass with R-Truth. And if you keep letting these veterans go, then you don't have any veteran leadership in the locker room at all. You don't. There's no leader in the locker room. I mentioned the same thing about Natalya. Natalya's up there in age. Is she possibly on the chopping block to be released? Possibly. Because it comes down for them, age gap and productivity. And there's, Natalya's up there in age, and there's really not a whole lot of productivity right now happening with Natalya. And that's that's the nature of the beast right now. So again, that could be a problem. But then you look at the fact that they're bringing back Nikki Bella. I know why they're bringing back Nikki Bella is because, like I mentioned earlier, WWE is hosting their all-women's pay-per-view, Evolution 2, happening July 12th weekend. Why not have some legends a part of that card? Well, Nikki Bella is a legend. So that's why they're bringing her in. They're probably going to put her in some kind of storyline, which is going to lead up to a match or a return match for Nikki Bella at Evolution 2. That's taking place, I think, July 13th, the weekend of All In. So they're going to start slowly building storylines, hopefully, for Evolution 2. That's why Nikki Bella's returning on Monday Night Raw. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things, man, where you're cutting hairs as far as these releases are concerned. Some releases, yeah. I mean, look at the last releases, man. There's people that are still pissed off with the release of Strowman, Cora Jade, Jakara Jackson, Shayna Baszler, and that's just to name a couple, man. Dakota Kai. I mean, people lost their shit finding out Dakota Kai was released because they just brought her back. She was in multiple matches. She was in multiple championship matches, whether it would be the Women's World Heavyweight Championship or specifically the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and they let her go. You know what I mean? Dakota Kai, yeah, she should probably go to AEW when she's able to actually be done with her contract or go past the 90 days. Yeah. Dakota Kai would be a great addition to AEW. Absolutely. And Tony Khan would be a dumbass not to consider bringing her in. Just like Cora Jade. Cora Jade has a history in AEW. Bring her in. Why not? It makes the women's division stronger in AEW. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. You know what I mean? So you're really looking at it in a lot of different angles, man. And I think what happened with R-Truth, I think WWE really needs to look into some shit before they say, oh, you know what? Yeah, we're letting that person go. Because, bro, the fans are going to let you know. And they did. They 100% did. They were literally at the gates of WWE with signs letting them know that they fucked up letting R-Truth go. And what happened? They listened to the fans and they brought the guy back. It might not be R-Truth now that we gotten Ron Killings in WWE, but at the end of the day, they brought that guy back because the outrage from fans and outrage on media and the news, and the fans' outrage that were pissed off immensely that they let R-Truth go, and it was so bad that it got the attention from the bigwigs in WWE to say, you know what, we might have fucked up, we need to bring this guy back. And that's exactly what happened. And he made an impact at Money in the Bank. It was probably one of the best parts of Money in the Bank, to be honest with you. But they knew they fucked up. And that's exactly what happened. They're not going to admit it, but they did. And I think ultimately, if they keep going and looking into the business aspect of it, even though I know it's a business, it's also a wrestling show. You also need to focus on the wrestling, compelling storylines, get fans invested in these matches. You can't forget about that. You know what I mean? Like, and again, it goes back to what I said about the PLEs. They're having a lot of them because financially, they're not in, crucial mode right now, but they are losing money. And if the truth is the truth, if they're in debt, yeah, it's a significant amount of money that they're in debt. Not that they can't bounce back from, but yeah, TKO's in debt. So, I mean, it's, you have to look at all sides of the field, man. All sides of the fence. So, I don't know. Do I see more releases happening with WWE? Absolutely. The talent they have on the roster right now, I don't see them, keeping that talent, all that talent for the foreseeable future. No. I mentioned names like Natalya, LA Knight. I mean, could you imagine them letting go someone like LA Knight? Just imagine. And you had to ask, okay, well, why would they let him go? Well, productivity, his age. Imagine letting someone like that go. And the amount of outrage that would happen for LA Knight if he was let go from a WWE contract. Only imagine. Hey, you know what, LA Knight, you're getting too old, man. We're not getting a lot of productivity out of you. What? Are you fucking kidding me? Seriously? That would, dude, you want to talk about outrage, man. Holy shit. You know, and you look at John Cena, yeah, he's up there in age, but they're going to let him go? Hell no. No. And it's not because he's Universal Champion. It's because he's John Cena. That's just the way it is. Do I think John Cena's heel turn's all that great? No. I think his heel turn actually is shit, to be honest. I don't know, and that's the other thing, too, man. I don't know what the hell they're doing with this heel turn for John, but it's a sinking ship, bro. It sucks. I'm sorry. I was all for it in the beginning of finally seeing John Cena turn heel. I even made comments. I know for a fact that I said it has a lot of resemblance to when Hogan turned heel and joined the NWO. Yeah, it had some resemblance like this because we have not seen a heel turn like this with a babyface since Hulk Hogan days when he, you know, hit that leg drop on Savage and he joined Hall and Nash. You know, when John Cena turned heel, it was like, holy shit, I can't believe they're actually going to do this. And they did it. But it went from, holy shit, John Cena turned heel to, man, I really don't give a shit. I don't, bro. And to be honest with you, with John, you know, it's going to be a hot take for a lot of people, but the truth of the matter is when you see these matches as of late with John, man, it's the same shit that we're getting rinse and repeat. Always that world title involved. Always looking for, you know, almost a possible DQ with the referee being distracted or referee being out. He hits his opponent with the damn championship and he, you know, rolls up for the cover in the 1, 2, 3. He was trying to literally do the same shit this past weekend at Money in the Bank. So the heel run for John is just, it's not there, man. It's fell flat. It's fell flat, and you know, I know John's supposed to be on Monday Night Raw. Who knows what's going to be next for John? It most likely will probably be R-Truth or Ron Killings, if I had to guess. And I don't know, man. To be honest with you, I respect the hell out of John Cena and what he's done in his career. Absolutely. He's one of the GOATs, if not the greatest of all time. Just from title reigns alone. He's 17-time World Heavyweight Champion. But, my God, man, they dropped the fucking ball with John Cena's heel turn, man. And we're going to see how it plays out. But as a fan, I'm not too really keen on John Cena's heel turn, man. I think they just dropped the ball on it. But with that being said, this is my review of WWE's Money in the